What a day. What a day. What a day.
With Joe Lowry.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to What a Day with Joe Lowry. And we got a nice interview for you today. Special guest all the way from Wales. It's Stuie from Stu's Wrestling Podcast. Stu, how are you, mate?
What a day, Joe. I'll get that one in there in my UK tongue. That'll do that. What a day. What a day. I'll say it over and over if I have to.
There you go. And boy, I'm telling you, we got a 6-hour time difference, right? So I had to get up early for this bad boy this morning.
You look fresh. You look fresh.
I try. You know, it's the coffee. I got the coffee going, so you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm used to early mornings after WWE Elimination Chamber this past Saturday. I was up at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. What time was it over there for you guys?
Oh, Joe, I got sick to death of hearing off people over there moaning about the start time. I've been watching pay-per-view from 12 a.m., 1 a.m., you name it, from when I was tiny in the 90s. So not you, you understand it, but my God, don't put any spoilers up. They spoil it every month. They spoil it every month over there. So don't, honestly.
Did you watch it live or on tape delay?
I've been dipping in and out. So I've watched like a match here, a match there. That's what I tend to do now. I'll watch it in the order I want to watch.
Yeah. Now I had to do an immediate recap broadcast right after the show ended. So that was another hour and a half after that. So I was up 6 hours before even the crack of dawn. Really, it was just crazy. So, but anyways, let's talk. We haven't spoken for a couple of years. You've been out and about doing your thing. I've been doing my thing. Now with Monte and the Pharaoh YouTube channel, growing. It's great to hook up with these guys. And, you know, the channel is doing phenomenal. You're doing just as well. I love your posts. I love your interviews. You interviewed one of my favorites the other day, Tony Garea, who I grew up with loving.
Have you heard of Tony?
I haven't heard from Tony. Not yet, anyways.
I'll message him.
Yeah, you drop a line. Maybe you have more influence over in the UK than I do here in the States.
I will get in contact with Tony for you again.
So, WrestleMania. Let's kick off things with WrestleMania. We're going to talk about the state of WWE and AEW. First, we'll start off with WWE. Stuie, we're on two different continents here, so I'm not sure how they present Raw and SmackDown over there or their premium live events and so forth. Outside of the time difference, I get that, but how do you think the product is going right now, WWE-wise?
WWE, what can you say? The Rock's back. The Rock's back, number one. He's obviously in that high position within the company now. He's going to have
Rock is back. He's with the bloodline, right? As you can see there. Yep, I can see it.
He's going to have a lot of pull. Why were people getting so uppity about him fat shaming the crowd as well? We've not seen heel Rock for about 20 years.
Yeah.
It's the state of the world at the moment. Like, you can't say nothing. That the Rock is a heel. He's going to do that. Why? I'm nearly balding. Well, the Rock's bald, isn't he? I wouldn't take umbrage if he started taking the mick out of being bald. I didn't understand it, Joe. I didn't understand it. People get butthurt about things. That didn't happen 20, 25 years ago, did it?
Yeah. No, I mean, but if you've been around the sport as long as I have, I saw this coming. I knew he wasn't going to come back. When Cody Rhodes stepped aside for The Rock and they did that hug thing, I still think The Rock's got something up his sleeve. I'm comparing this WrestleMania very eerily similar to the WrestleMania 14 back in 1998 when Stone Cold beat HBK at my Boston Garden. And Mike Tyson was the special guest referee we all thought was aligned with DX. But lo and behold, it was the double cross. So, you know, I have a feeling that's what's going to happen with The Rock. But I think a lot of this is being tainted, at least here in the States. I don't know how it is over in the UK. You know, we were, I'll go back to January 25th. That whole week, WWE announces the Netflix deal. They're going to streaming platform next year for 2025. Then, of course, The Rock is appointed to the TKO board, and they ring the bell on Wall Street. And exactly that same day, the lawsuit from Janelle Grant hits the airwaves like a bomb went off. And Vince McMahon in one morning was ringing the bell at the stock exchange with The Rock and everybody. And the following night, he was resigning from TKO in Denver. So I think right now what's going on, at least here in the States, I don't know how it is over there, we have like this black cloud, especially over the WWE, especially during WrestleMania time. How is it over there? Are you guys affected by this at all? I mean, is it on the air over there? Vince McMahon, this huge sex trafficking lawsuit and sexual harassment and all that stuff. How is it being perceived over there in the UK?
This has been known for years, though, hasn't it? Let's get this correct.
Sure.
He went on Donahue in the 90s.
Yep.
And there was accusations thrown and stuff like this. For it only to be getting sorted out now, I know times have changed. It wasn't acceptable 30 years ago, let alone now. It's terrible. It's terrible. But I mean, Triple H has been running it anyway. I don't think it affects it, Joe. What do you think?
I think right now there's a black cloud over the WWE and WrestleMania, and I think they brought The Rock in at the right time because he's desperately trying to swerve the fans and do whatever he can. Now he's booked for the next 3 SmackDowns leading up to WrestleMania. We did a show last night. I don't know if you watched the 30, but one of the questions, there's like 37 hours of program. There's 36 days left till WrestleMania, which leads to about 15 hours of Raw and less than that for SmackDown. So it only 4 confirmed matches, but The Rock seems to be the main player here. And he's not even wrestling yet. Only 4 confirmed matches for WrestleMania. And The Rock's not even really part of that. I mean, outside, you got Reigns and Rhodes. You got Seth and McIntyre, Rhea and Becky. And, of course, you had Io Sky defending against Bayley. Those are 4 confirmed matches. That's all we have now is 4. That's it. As of this morning, there have been no other confirmed matches. So a lot of speculation going on. But they're really pushing this Rock thing. Social media, Pat McAfee's had him on his show a couple of times, really driving it home and trying to get us as far away as what's been going on the dark side with Vince McMahon and all that. I don't know how it is over there. You see the same programming we do, but I don't know how it's presented over there. Are you guys getting inundated with any type of news on the lawsuit front, or is it more WrestleMania?
Bits and pieces, Joe, but the same, it's the usual thing. What's fact and what's fiction? Anybody can write. Anybody can write. I know there's legitimate sources out there. Don't get me wrong. It's all not very good. There was a lot about Brock Lesnar at the time, and I was waiting at the Rumble for him, even with all the speculation that he's involved in something. Yep. We got to number 30. I was like, Brock has legitimately done something. Then there's something with Brock. He would have been an entrant. That caught me off guard, him being involved in it, personally. I wouldn't have had him down. I know we don't know the ins and outs.
Right. Have you read the lawsuit at all? Have you read the 67-page?
Bits and pieces, Joe. I haven't, gone through everything. I've bits and bobs here and there.
Unfortunately, in this day of social media, you're pretty much guilty until you're proven innocent, which is complete opposite of things. But I've read the lawsuit. I've been all over it since it came out. We've done a tremendous amount of coverage on it. And basically, Brock Lesnar is not named in the lawsuit. There is an entity there that this man was being, Janelle had to be propositioned out to this person, a former WWE talent who's trying to re-sign, as well as being a former UFC heavyweight champion. Of course, if you put the pieces together, dot the I's, cross the T's, it sounds and looks like it's Brock Lesnar, but he still has not yet been named.
No.
John Laurinaitis has been named. I'm sure as of right now, 99% of these lawsuits don't even see a courtroom. I think the damage has been done. The text messages in this, just in the lawsuit alone, is graphic enough, proof enough. And everyone's like jumping on the bandwagon that she's after money and all that stuff. And it's really not the case. She's merely suing Vince McMahon to get out of this supposed NDA that she had signed when she left the WWE. And of course, ended Vince McMahon's crazy relationship. That's the only way I can put it. But, she just wants out. She wants no money, but she's proven without a doubt in that 67-page lawsuit that Vince McMahon violated the NDA. He was sending text messages to other people. There's one message there. Over 12 people watched her perform sex acts in a video that he did, threesomes with physical trainers and things like that. Just really I'm not going to say illegal, but very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very just immoral type scenarios. And there is some wording of a sexual assault that took place with John Laurinaitis and Vince McMahon in one of the offices at WWE headquarters in Stamford. Now, take it for what it's worth. I mean, as innocent as Vince says he is and so forth, he had to step down. I think Ari Emanuel made him step down. I mean, don't forget, let's look at the timing of this. In the morning, he's ringing the bell at the New York Stock Exchange with The Rock, TKO Endeavor, Triple H. They're all there. Stephanie noticeably absent. And then we have less than 8 hours later, he's resigning from TKO. It was just like this whirlwind of activity. I mean, we were on this so much when the first 2 weeks came out. We didn't know anything about this woman. We only knew what we could find out in the lawsuit. And over here in the States, you type in Vince McMahon and that's all you read about. That's all you see. And this has been always his time. WrestleMania is his baby. There'd be no WWE without WrestleMania. And here we are with this dark cloud hanging over it, and The Rock's trying to do his thing, and Cody's trying to finish his story. Seth and McIntyre trying to get, you just see it. It's just, and they still haven't sold out. 2 nights in Philadelphia. It's still not a sellout. We're now, like I said, 36 days out. We still don't know any Hall of Fame inductees. I do know that last year they were kind of late to the game with this. I think it was last minute. March 10th, they made the first announcement with Rey Mysterio. So we're kind of on that track now. Speaking of Hall of Fames, what about nominees for you? Who do you think should be going in this year?
Oh, man. I know they're not. I know they always get overlooked. The Rougeos have become really good friends with Jacques.
The Rougeos,
several times. The Rougeos, not just Raymond and Jacques. It's their dad. It's their dad. All the family, they should be in there. Demolition should be in there, but obviously they've had stuff. Billy D and also have had stuff outside, and they lawsuits and stuff like that. Tag team wise, they have to go in. I don't think they will. The Rougeos, Hogan's gone to bat for the Rougeos. He said over the last year or so, hasn't he?
Yeah, so, I mean, to me, I have my wish list. I think Cyndi Lauper should go in on the celebrity ring. It's shocking that she's not even in there. 40 years of WrestleMania, and there'd be no Rock and Wrestling Connection without Cyndi Lauper / WrestleMania. And you're telling me 40 years has gone by, and I think the 94 was the first induction, so 30 years of Hall of Fame inductions, and not one mention of Cyndi Lauper. I think she needs to go in. Of course, 3-time tag team champs, Demolition. But my personal favorite that keep getting snubbed, I don't know why. I even asked you via Tony Gurria on your podcast, Tony Gurria and Rick Martel. Yeah. Tony Gurria, a multi tag team champion in the WWF and WWF, with Rick Martel, who went on to AWA, become the heavyweight champion. You have other heavyweight champions in the Hall of Fame right now. Why not Tony Gurria and Rick Martel?
What about Todd Gordon? What about Paul Heyman? It's in Philly.
Yep, that's another thing they were talking about. Paul Heyman's The Rock has been mentioned as well. Being that it's WrestleMania, he's coming back. You might as well strike while the iron's hot and have him. They did just put up on the WrestleMania website that it will be April 5th, immediately following SmackDown, the induction ceremony. So that's a good thing. At least we know they're going to have it. They're just late again in announcing who the inductees are. We mentioned Monte and the Pharaoh a couple weeks ago. Bray Wyatt should be one, the Eater of Worlds. But to me, I think he should get his own night, similar to that of the Undertaker. I think he should have one night. It's just Bray Wyatt and the Fireflies, and we could do all sorts of tributes with that. You could have family come out, friends come out, people that have worked with him. I think you could do actually one night with that, and hopefully we'll get there. I don't want him clumped in with 4 or 5 other inductees, because I think he's more deserving in that with the short time he had on this earth. So what do you think about that?
Oh, Bray's a dead cert, and the title, everyone was like, oh, he didn't get the title as much. He never needed the title. Because the character was so strong. Oh, yeah. Akin to Jake Roberts, Joe.
Yep.
The character and just what he was able to do. You go from Husky Harris, and when they give him the
Husky Harris,
great creativity, Joe, and he's younger than me, and he's passed away.
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah,
my friends met him at a bar in America. They came to, I think it was the Rumble it would have been San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in a bar with JoJo, and he couldn't have been kinder. He was chatting to my mates for ages. You know, he was having a night out with his wife, but
yeah, and I didn't hear I haven't heard one bad scenario with Bray Wyatt in or outside the ring. People he's worked with, the homage that Undertaker paid to him that night when he hugged him, and those two will forever know what was said, passing the torch, so to speak, and all that. But it's just weird because after that night, he kind of creativity. They came at a crossroads, and he really wasn't on WWE television much more after that. So it's kind of weird in that sense, but. You know, I'd like to see Bray Wyatt inducted for one night only. That'd be really cool. They could do a big thing on that. They could actually broadcast on every network for all I care. But any other matches you might be thinking for WrestleMania this year?
Well, obviously, before Punk was injured, it would have been Seth and Punk. Excuse me. I'm happy that Drew's got it, fellow Brit. I'm happy for him, but. I suppose it's tag matches now, isn't it? It's Jey Uso and people putting them into there. I think it will deliver as a pay-per-view. 20 delivered, 30 delivered. They always seem to work out. So I think 40 will work out as well. And then what's going to happen with The Rock? This is like you were saying earlier. Sure. What capacity? Who are they going to put him up against? Are they going to put him up against anybody? I don't know who they'll put him up against personally. It's trying to work out. I
think night one. There's been a lot of talk over here, anyways, that Seth is going to turn on everybody because he's been the odd champion out. So something might happen along those. Right now, they look like they might be itching towards a Cody, Seth, Rock, Reigns tag match for night one of WrestleMania.
Right.
Which stage. Other possibilities, I ran down the list last night on the game show to 30. You have LA Knight versus AJ Styles. The battle of the two first letter names, that type of thing. What else we got? Of course, Judgment Day is going to have to defend their tag title. They're thinking Awesome Truth will be in on that as well. I think Liv Morgan will have her say. I think she'll probably take on Nia Jax because I think the big matchup, another one that's getting lost. It's funny, though. I hate to backtrack like this, but when CM Punk came back, I felt bad for LA Knight. I felt bad for Cody Rhodes because it was all CM Punk. And then he got hurt. And then they had to go backwards and try and, reestablish Cody and, LA Knight again and all that. I have a feeling that what's going to happen with all this is the CM Punk thing. I think he's hurt. I don't think he's hurt as bad as we all think he is. Because for a guy who usually when guys get hurt like this, they're off TV, they're away from the sport, they're mentally regrouping and all that. I've seen more CM Punk since he's got hurt than when he was on TV. He was at the premium live event. He's everywhere now. He's putting messages out there. They thinking he's going to have some type of say in WrestleMania. I don't know. But going back to all these people that were getting these pushes and CM Punk comes along and then they get pushed aside. We all forgot about Jade Cargill. She was the hottest thing going. I don't know how it was over in the UK, but Jade Cargill was showing up on NXT, SmackDown, Raw. Where's she going to go? All that stuff. And then CM Punk comes back, and we pretty much forget about it. I do believe the Royal Rumble was her best bet to get in there, but very creative. I mean, Liv Morgan to me is the superstar. She almost won the Rumble. She almost won the Chamber. I see another run in her future. So I think the women's division is looking very, very well. I think Becky Lynch, I hate to say this, I would just hope and pray that she gives Rhea the rub and takes, lets Rhea win, so to speak, because I think it's Rhea's turn now. She's phenomenal. And of course, the big one here, I'm trying to think of Jade Cargill will probably take on Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. That is like a huge match that everybody's hoping for that. What do you think of that match, Jade Cargill and Bianca?
Jade Cargill, she's improved immensely. She has. She's got the look. We all know this. I think TBS champion. She was very, very good. I enjoyed her run. Some people were a bit horrible about her online. It's the usual scenario.
People
that have never gone in the ring, Joe.
I know.
I love it. I love it. She's no good. You've never been in the ring.
They're
That's
brutal over here. I mean,
just like the
Maxine
girl.
Dupree. Did you see the video of
Oh
Maxine
my days!
Dupree?
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't
I'm
believe
like,
it. Not on.
you,
It's not fair. It's why would you go to a show, pay all that money, and berate a talent? Yeah, it- as banter, we boo and stuff like that. The girl made a mistake.
sure.
It's totally in the wrong context to be booing.
It was a house show too. It wasn't like it was
Yeah.
even on. Yeah, it's just that's how they learn. I mean, outside of the performance center, they only get their licks in on the road at house shows. And I love house shows because most of the time they go off script. Most of the time you see matchups that you wouldn't see on TV because they got to protect the product and all that stuff. So I'm all for house shows. I'm glad they brought them back after COVID because I was afraid the house shows were going to go away after COVID and so forth. All right, so what do you think? Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I went to a lot of house shows in like 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
I went to SmackDown ones
Okay.
when Heyman was beating Raw. And again, just to your point, because they can go off script a little bit, it was fantastic. Like Kurt Angle to Undertaker, he was giving him like little jibes and stuff like that you wouldn't necessarily see on television. But yeah, sorry, you can ask the next question. I jumped in.
There you go. No, that's okay. Let's move on. AEW Revolution this weekend. Mm-hmm. Nobody could care less on what's on the card. It's a sad state of affairs. I know you said you don't watch AEW anymore religiously.
So through social media, sitting down and watching Dynamite and Collision, I haven't done it for months. Do you know what? It's weird. I came back from the show in London in the summer, and I thought I'll be into this even more now. And I've gone the other way with it. I don't tune in. It's missing MJF. It's missing Kenny Omega. That is evident. My friend said this, and I agree. I agree with him. But Sting, we get to see Sting, don't we, with Darby against the Bucks?
Right. That's probably the only highlight. And even that's pretty much taking a beating on social media. Why is Sting's supposed last match, a tag team match and a tag team title match at that? So, I mean, what if they do defeat the Young Bucks? What if Sting does get the big win and all that stuff? What happens after that to the tag titles? What happens with Darby Allin, that situation? I, for one, I don't know if you've ever been involved on the other side of pro wrestling. I, for one, know that bookers that book wrestling matches and they book these retirement angles. Look at Terry Funk. Look at Mick Foley. They've had retirement matches, more retirement matches than I can think of. Ric Flair is another one I can think of. I don't believe for 1 second this will be Sting's last match. I think his last match should rightfully take place in the WWE against, maybe a rebirth of an Undertaker for one last match, the match that nobody ever saw. The two giants of the industry that carried each other's promotions during the Monday Night Wars. We'd like to see that. And of course, put him on the grandest stage of all, WrestleMania. I'm not buying this. I think Tony Khan, since Wembley Stadium, I'll even go back even further, since May of 2022, when MJF called Tony Khan an effing mark, when he did that promo. Tony Khan is not booking AEW like he should be. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if the inmates are truly running the assignment. You had a great thing with CM Punk, and they let some crazy backstage thing get out of control. And now two of them, meaning Jungle Boy and CM Punk, are not even really on with the company anymore. What are your thoughts with the AEW? You can't watch anymore. Is it the product? Is it the lack of stars that they're promoting? Is it storylines? What do you think?
In defense, because I don't slate Tony Khan, because I can see what he's trying to do. It's difficult. It's time constraints in life. A lot of it, like soccer, football, is my first passion ahead of wrestling. And I love wrestling. You know that. Oh, yeah. I just think it's just so hard. I'd love to watch it all. NWA, MLW. So I kind of just dip in with little bits of each one, just to give them all a bit of my time,
Yeah, I've been watching AEW religiously since it came out. Even during COVID, I stomached through those matches where the talent was the audience. and so forth. And, we both really did wonders during that time because the wrestlers had a bunch of time on their hands, so they're able to come on the show, no problem. So I have a little affiliation with AEW, Brian Pillman, Thunder Rosa. I still keep in contact with those guys, even though Brian Pillman's with NXT now. But looking at the talent from back then, it was almost must-see TV. Now it's just like a sleeper-thon. Chris Jericho is not the same Chris Jericho, even going back 2-3 years.
I agree. Ospreay had to carry that match in London. He had to.
And he made an appearance this week. But again, he did not wrestle. He just showed up and said, I'm back. All my fulfillments at New Japan have been done. So, okay, but he's not wrestling. So, what was the sense of having him come out? Except to tell us that Delta Airlines lost his baggage. Okay, is that a sign of things right there?
Nobody needs to know about Delta. When you get on the stick, you do what you need to do, regardless of what's happened getting there.
Yeah.
You need to. But you know what? He had my match of the year last year with Kenny. Kenny
Omega.
Forbidden Door. It was.
Oh, yeah.
It was the match of the year for me. But that's putting up against Rhea and Charlotte at WrestleMania as well.
Oh yeah.
Which was fantastic. But Ospreay, it's just what they do with Ospreay, isn't it? He's got to be world champion at some point.
Yep. I also feel that the women's division is carrying AEW right now through this dark time. And I'm calling it a dark time because I know you're not watching the shows like I am. You can hear a pin drop. This crowd, either they yell and scream for one match and they just totally check out the next match. And even with the women's side, the timeless Toni Storm character, I hope they play this to the T. This is a great, great concept. What they got going, it's very innovative. It's very WWE-like, cinematic, so to speak. She has a great match coming up against Deonna Purrazzo this weekend, which I think will probably be the match of the card because everything else is just so blah right now with AEW. I hate to say that. They need to push this women's division a lot further. They need to at least give the fans something to cheer about because no one's cheering right now for the Young Bucks. No one's cheering right now. No MJF. Kenny Omega's on the shelf. Chris Jericho's not the same anymore. And I hear more about Cody Rhodes through AEW channels than I do on WWE channels because the Young Bucks are forever talking about Cody Rhodes. And to me, that's just a sign of them trying to stay relevant in a totally different company that Cody Rhodes is not a part of anymore. So to me, AEW, it went from Wembley Stadium was an unbelievable thing. And then now they're still trying to sell it. They're coming back again in August, right? They're coming back there again.
They're coming back. Friends of mine, I'm not going. They bought me a ticket thinking I was going to go. I was one and done anyway. I said I'll go to the first one because I went to SummerSlam. As you know, it's cliche. I say I've been to SummerSlam 1992. I'm sorry, but I had to be there for the first show. It was fantastic. It was brilliant. It was different to a WWE show. You didn't have loads of vignettes playing. It was very much focused on the matches.
Yep. For
that amount of time. So it was well done. It was a great night. There was fans from all over Europe there. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Just to get back to Sting one more time, his final match is with AEW Revolution this weekend, his so-called final match. This Ric Flair involvement is just baffling to me. I don't know if you've seen social media.
I did.
But
I did see it.
He got in the ring the other night, and it was just like I cringed. And I honestly believe that Ric Flair is going to be that wrestler that actually dies in the ring. And I think that's how he wants to go out in front of the fans. I think that's been his whole life. He's very vocal about it. He'll wrestle till he dies, he said. So what are your thoughts? Do you think Ric Flair might have a say in this match this weekend?
Joe, I love Flair. Always will. Annoyed me that I was at WrestleMania 24 in Orlando and that was meant to be the retirement. Then he went to TNA. That annoyed me years ago. I was vocal about that. Still met him afterwards in person at WrestleCon. How slow are those chops?
Oh.
And how ineffective did they look? He doesn't need to be doing it. But like you said, wrestling is him. But it was god awful. And I never slag Ric Flair off. but I'm going to have to slag him off. But they put him in that position as well. Tony Khan's allowing that.
I think I think this is where Tony Khan is dropping the ball. There is a way to promote and book these guys the right way. That's not it. That's not having Ric Flair come out in a small arena in Huntsville, Alabama, where it was supposed Sting's last Dynamite, and we saw him for about 30 seconds at the end of the show, which probably half the people didn't see because most people record AEW now, and Sting came on during the overrun, which wasn't even a 5-minute overrun. It was like a 3-minute overrun. And he descended from the ceiling again. It took him it felt like it took eternity for them to unhook him. And when he did descend from the ceiling, everybody, including myself, was thinking Owen Hart. Like, oh my God, if something ever goes wrong right now, this is not going to bode well. And, as much as we'd love to see it, it's a great theatrical entrance. You can't help but wonder and think of the last time a wrestler descended from the ceiling. He fell to his death, and that was Owen Hart. God, may he rest in peace. But it's tough.
It's disrespect. It's disrespectful to Martha. They did all that stuff. They did the Owen Hart Cup, didn't they, and all that, right? So yeah, I do. Yeah, I do agree because they've worked directly with Martha. You just do not know if there's going to be a malfunction with that tech.
And she had an interesting social media post the other day. Now that she knows Vince is in trouble and all that, she's been very vocal about that pay-per-view at Kemper Arena that night back in May, where wrestlers continued to wrestle in the same ring that his blood was splattered all over. The boards were still broken from his fall. Like, that's morbid. And I know Vince has come out and said that, he asked everybody if you want to continue with the show. But I think at that point, it's not if you want to continue, because that just doesn't set the tone. The tone would have been to end the pay-per-view. Because if you think about it, I know hindsight's 2020. You look back on it now, that place should have been a crime scene. That, somebody fell to his death. I mean, you don't just say, okay. And at the time, I watched it with my son, and I had to explain to him. He was like 5 or 6 years old. Like, what happened? We kind of thought it was part of the show, but when the tears started rolling and people were talking, it was like, okay, something. And then JR announced it that he had passed away during the show. It's like, whoa, what is going on here? Like, you've just taken a pay-per-view and turned it into like more than a soap opera. It's crossed over in that reality sector, real life. Where were you that night when that took place?
I didn't watch it live. I had school the next morning. A guy in my class had stayed up. And came in, and I couldn't believe it. And it was still early days of the internet. We had internet in school.
Yep.
But what I always look back to? Talent going out there, and I can remember Undertaker's face looking at Pat Patterson, and it's like he's staring through him as if to say, I don't want to be in here. But that's on Vince, Joe. It was Vince's decision. It should have been stopped. I've also heard audio years later from the Spanish announce team, and their microphones are picking up the fall. You can hear. You can hear Owen hitting the canvas with Carlos Cabrera and Hugo Savanovic. It would have been, wouldn't it, at the time? It's about an 8-second clip. It was one of them. I put it on once only. Never again, Joe. But
the videos are out now. Like, obviously, watching it is different than probably listening to it, because a lot of people didn't know what happened. They just saw somebody come out of the ceiling, and that, for all they know, that until they saw the blue blazer outfit, I mean, something. It's just a horrible, a very black eye, I should say, for the sport.
What about Jimmy Corderas?
Oh,
and what he went through after that. You took the mental toll. He felt him brushed past him, didn't he? And he said he shouted down, didn't he, as he was falling, out the way, because he was always thinking of other people. I mean, that was how he was, wasn't he? It's the emotional thing that they went through after as well.
Sure.
It's on Vince, but Vince has had blood on his hands for 25 years, Joe.
Yeah. Probably more than that, but definitely he karma is coming back to bite his ass now, I guess, with everything that's going on. So
absolutely,
it's just been so I know this past week we lost a couple of legends here. Ole Anderson passed away on Monday, and then the next day Mike Jones, aka Virgil, and Soul Train Jones passed away. Did you have any recollection of these guys when they wrestled?
Only obviously watching old NWA
Okay.
and stuff like that. But again, tough man and all the rest of it, and split opinion, didn't he, as a booker and stuff like that. Some guys loved him, didn't they? But a lot of guys, I think
he was very ornery, right? He was very straightforward and told you like it was. If he didn't like you, he'd tell you. If he thought you were a lousy wrestler, he would tell you.
I like people like that, Joe, in life.
Yeah, right. Especially in that industry, because a lot of egos you can't skate on ego alone nowadays.
No.
That Virgil, we talked about him last night on Monte and the Pharaoh. Everyone's like, he wasn't a great wrestler and so forth. I mean, it's funny because I had mentioned that Ted DiBiase had an interview last week before Virgil passed away saying, do you think Virgil belongs in the Hall of Fame? And he said, absolutely not. He wasn't a wrestler, so to speak. He was a bodyguard, and that's it. And then, of course, Tuesday he passes away. And, of course, they're looking for a comment from Ted DiBiase. And Ted had good things to say about him. Basically, he got paid to do one job, and that was to be a bodyguard. He was the muscle. He had to look the part, play the part. He did it to a T. And that's what Vince hired him for. And then when he won that $1 million belt championship against Ted DiBiase at SummerSlam, he trained really, really hard for that. And Ted DiBiase said, he trained countless of hours really hard just to go out there and put on a good match. So that tells you the type of talent. And of course, Monte and the Pharaoh interviewed him right after COVID on the Monte and the Pharaoh show. And he was a worker that had to be taught. There was no wrestling academies back then. There were no performance centers. You had to learn the ropes before and after the shows. Jerry the King Lawler took him under his wing, showed him some moves and things like that. And he was pretty vocal about it. He's like, I didn't learn how to throw a punch on my own. I had to be taught how to learn or how to take a punch and things like that. So, whether or not he's Hall of Fame material, I'll let other people discuss that. To me, I just remember him as the bodyguard. And I said it last night on the show. He had a part to play, and he played it to a T, and he did very, very well at it. He was a bodyguard. So do you remember him as the bodyguard?
Of course. I grew up watching it from 90 onwards, as you know.
Yep.
And hey, let's be fair to the guy. He had the match with DiBiase, and he had a run in 91, didn't he? When he had the $1 million belt, he was in this. He was in the Survivor Series team there with Brett, Piper, and Bulldog. I think unfairly criticised. Actually, he was still part. He was part of it. He was part of it with DiBiase. DiBiase, superb. There's no question about it. But I think he gets a bit. It's a bit unnecessary, some of the flack he gets. I think personally, I don't think he's as bad as people made out in the ring.
Yeah, and going back to Ole Anderson real quick, original Four Horsemen.
Yeah,
I think of the Four Horsemen. I think of Ole, Arn, Tully, and Flair. I'll always think of that. I know there's been several variations on that. I just, the Four Horsemen. It's always the original Four Horsemen to me that are the main. The people that put it on the map. You can throw every soup, all the way from Wyndham to everybody else in there. But the original Four Horsemen to me were Tully, Arn, Flair, and Ole. So, may they rest in peace. You know what I mean?
Going back to Virgil as well, I saw him at conventions when I was over in the States, WrestleMania weeks and that.
Yeah.
And I heard stories, he was hounding people for an autograph. I walked past him various times. I just gestured to him, I waved to him. He never hassled me.
Right.
Can we get a signature? Can we get an autograph?
Right.
That annoys me, stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. I've encountered that before too. Come on over here, because it is a hustle. It's a carnival, so to speak. They're out for the money and all that.
He never did it to me, and I waved to him and stuff. So I don't know. I can only vouch for. He was fine with me.
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff. So you're going to be watching WrestleMania this year?
I will, Joe. The pay-per-views I do, but I watch them. I'll watch the matches in the order I want to watch. Obviously, night one, depending on who we've got. Night two, I'm not a fan of this 2-night thing. I don't like it. I've not liked it from when they started doing it. It's a one-night thing. That is what we grew up on.
Right.
And when I've been, it was just one night.
Yep.
And it could be over 5 hours on the one night anyway. So I don't know I've never been on board with this 2-night thing, Joe.
I remember going back to WrestleMania 1. I saw it at the Garden on a big screen TV back in '85, where it was 1 p.m. on a Sunday. And then I recall WrestleMania 2, I do believe, was on like a Tuesday night or some sort. Pay-per-view first came into existence, and Vince didn't want to battle the weekend shows and all that. So they did that 3-city, Long Island, Chicago, LA, WrestleMania, King Kong Bundy and Hogan in the cage. That was on very first pay-per-view, and that was on a Tuesday night. So things were, I
didn't know that until you just told me. So I've learned something there.
Then they went back to the Sundays, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of the 2 nights. I think it's a money grab. I think that they're putting the blame on the fans who are traveling from afar, such as the UK and so forth. They want to give them more than just one night.
Yeah, but you can go to SmackDown, you can go to Raw on the Monday. It was fine as it was. And now they're not saying, they'll just say what the true attendance is now, where they used to embellish the attendance, didn't they? They've lied about breaking attendance records.
They've always done that, right?
But now it's like, with SummerSlam, say we've done 55,000 in a 75,000 seat stadium. They don't lie about it now, do they?
Right. Yeah, I think The Rock's going to be on the next 3 SmackDowns. They've already promoted SmackDown tonight as a sellout in Glendale, Arizona. I don't know where they are the next 2 weeks. Maybe they'll get a sellout. Raw is going to much smaller arenas now. I'm not really sure Raw needs to be 3 hours anymore.
No, it doesn't.
I think when they start streaming on Netflix, they should go back to 2 hours, and they should be 9 to 11, and that time frame and so forth.
They're not okay. They've got to do the TV show. I understand that. So they've got to be in the arenas. Sure. The money, the revenue from that it doesn't matter as much these days. They make that many billions out of broadcast deals.
Yeah. Well, the media rights is what keeps those shows.
Yeah.
That's all. If there was no money involved in all this, they would not be on right now. They wouldn't be able to sell out anything like that. But
I'm quite looking forward to it being on Netflix because I subscribe to Netflix anyway.
Yeah, everything's streaming now. Cable is going to be obsolete in the next couple of years, as we know, because we all have Wi-Fi and modems now, and they're not to watch cable TV anymore. It's to stream everything because we want everything now. Everything's on demand, and I think that the WWE, it's funny because I was a subscriber to the WWE Network for years. Wasn't that the whole reason behind the WWE Network? Was to, I don't understand why they're now. I think do they still have it over in the UK?
We are still under the guise of WWE Network. So it never Peacock. We get Peacock on Sky. We get like certain. We get like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air from Peacock. All like the different.
Sure.
We don't get a full blown Peacock like you do there. Yep. I can obtain Peacock streams from illegal sources if I want live streams.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
We won't go into that, Joe.
No, we won't.
It stayed under the WWE Network umbrella over here. But obviously, I think Netflix want to go into live streaming. Obviously, don't they? They don't do that yet. So it's gonna be interesting to see.
What scares me is that the CEO of Netflix, I forget his name, but the first thing he said was, "Well, we've never done this before, so we have a year to figure it out." He just paid billions of dollars for a 10-year deal with.
It needs to be right. They've got the technology, like you say. Yeah, it's got to be because it's WWE.
I think they're going to be airing a tennis match later on this month, Netflix, to see how that first trial run goes with it. So who knows? They have a year to make it up. And of course, the big news around here, I don't know if you heard that their deal with the USA Network expires in October, and they don't go to Netflix until January. This is like a 90-day period where Raw does not have a home.
What's going to happen there, Joe?
I don't know. They were on the earnings call yesterday, and they said they're trying to work with the USA Network, but I have a feeling the USA Network's like, well, why do we want to extend you for 90 days when you don't want to be with us anymore? So they might not have a home for 90 days. And for all we know, the Netflix deal might have to take over earlier. They'll cross that bridge when they come to it, or they might just go to another network for 90 days. Who knows?
That's friggin' mad.
It's crazy times in WWE right now.
You're not dealing with a 2-bit company here. So
what's that?
Why have that 90-day thing? They'll have to extend the contract, won't they? Like on a short.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, they'll just. I mean, the holidays, they don't have much going on during the holidays, anyways.
No.
Raw ratings are in the toilet now, anyways, compared to what they used to be back in the day. But I don't think they've gotten 2 million viewers in years. Not since I've started studying the ratings, that's for sure. I mean, I remember the days of 14, 15 million a week.
They make the views. They make the views on social media.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right.
The views are now. It's just changed, like you said.
Yep.
The whole thing, cable for you guys over there, satellite. I've got satellite, which is like you said, that's going to be finishing.
One thing that Vince McMahon wanted to do before he left WWE or before all this stuff went down was he wanted to count the DVR recordings as, they're going to watch it sooner or later, just not at that particular time. And he wanted those counted in the ratings. And I think if that was the case, then like everybody, we're sick of the commercials. We DVR it and we fast forward it the next day. So if they start counting that, I think the ratings will go sky high. But I don't know.
They do that over here for certain shows like our soap operas and dramas.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So he's right. I will agree with Vince on that. I know we've berated Vince today, but he's right. DVR, it should be just to get a clearer number. He's correct. He's correct, Joe. I will give him one positive today, the old man.
Yeah, I think that would help Tony Khan's numbers as well, because I think a lot of people are not sitting through these
100%
brutal, boring dynamites, and I hate to say that, but I'm a wrestling fan just like everybody else. But these dynamites, the last few, I'll say,
I was so invested in AEW. I feel like I'm doing them a disservice. I just.
You could do them a service and watch Revolution then on.
I'll watch Revolution. I want to see the Stinger.
The Stinger's last match coming up on Revolution. Yeah, I'm not buying it's his last match ever, but in AEW definitely. I'd like to see him. I was saying this last night on the show. I'm wondering if his contract ends the day after, because if it does, maybe the WWE can get him to show up for WrestleMania just for like a "Hey, how are you" type thing, and that'd be kind of neat. But who knows? Who knows?
Hey, we've got Samoa Joe. We've got Samoa Joe, Hangman, and Strickland as well. Triple threat.
Yeah.
That's potential. That's got
there you
potential.
go. That'd be kind of neat.
Well,
yeah.
Hangman and Strickland, the Texas Death Match was decent. So
yeah, drinking blood. I guess that's a new thing now. Yeah.
Yeah. Modern wrestling. When you think you've seen it all over the years, Joe, and then they go and do that.
Unbelievable. All right, Stu, I think we've chatted long enough about the state of WWE and AEW. What's going on your side of the world? What do you got coming up on Stu's Wrestling Podcast?
At the moment, there's nobody booked in for an interview.
Okay.
I will, me, full disparity, full disclosure, full honesty. I've got a soccer show over here now.
Oh, yeah.
Which we've just recorded episode 4. We've got to put episode 3 out.
Oh, nice.
So it's me and my cousin Chris, who did Big Fight Weekly,
nice.
The MMA and boxing show that we're doing, which is still we're going to cover some fights.
Okay, good.
Coming up with that, but yeah, the soccer show, and we've charted already. We've charted in Australia on Apple, nice. And we've charted in Great Britain on Apple as well, which I wasn't expecting so soon.
Nice.
So yeah, in terms of who would I like to get on, Bill Apter. I'll say it again. I've been trying to get Bill for 5 years, Joe.
That's my mentor. I was just talking to him yesterday. So, yep.
I've told him, but I think he can only do like late, early morning.
He's a very busy man now. He's with Sportskeeda now, so they got him running and gunning. So
I love his content on Wrestle Binge. It's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, Bill is still at the top.
Yep.
I'd like to get Al Snow on.
Oh, there you go.
Al Snow, nice. I'd like to get on.
I just want to get Tony Gurria on. That's all.
I will push him. I will push him again. I will message him. I will say I've got Joe waiting. I said, Joe remembers your career well before I did. So yeah, I will. I will give him a prod.
All right, awesome. You do that, Stuie. Thanks so much for joining us all the way from the Wales in the UK, brother.
Not a problem.
Right,
Joe, what a day.
There you go. Thanks, Stuie. We'll see everybody next time. Thanks for joining us. I'm Joe Lowry. What a day.